Hare Krishna, welcome all of you for today's prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 6, entitled Conversation between Srila Narad Muni and Sri Vyasadeva. Text 28. प्रयुज्यमाने मयि तां शुद्धां भागवतीं तनुम् आरब्धकर्मनिर्वाणो न्यपतत् पाञ्चभौतिकः. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Srila Narad Muni continued, having been obtained, having been awarded a transcendental body befitting an associate of the personality of Godhead, I quit the body made of five material elements, and thus all acquired fruitive results of work, karma, stopped. Purport. Informed by the personality of Godhead that he would be awarded a transcendental body befitting the Lord's association, Narada got his spiritual body as soon as he quitted his material body. This transcendental body is free from material affinity and invested with three primary transcendental qualities, namely eternity, freedom from material modes, and freedom from reactions of fruitive activities. The material body is always afflicted with the lack of these three qualities. A devotee's body becomes at once surcharged with the transcendental qualities as soon as he is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. It acts like the magnetic influence of a touchstone upon iron. The influence of transcendental devotional service is like that. Therefore, change of the body means stoppage of the reaction of three qualitative modes of material nature upon the pure devotee. There are many instances of this in the revealed scriptures. Dhruva Maharaj and Prahalad Maharaj and many other devotees were able to see the personality of Godhead face to face, apparently in the same body. This means that the quality of a devotee's body changes from material to transcendence. That is the opinion of the authorized Goswamis via the authentic scriptures. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that beginning from the Indragopa germ up to the great Indra, king of heaven, all living beings are subjected to the law of karma and are bound to suffer and enjoy the fruitive results of their own work. Only the devotee is exempt from such reactions by the causeless mercy of the Supreme Authority, the personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. So, in this chapter, we have been seeing Narad Muni's narration of his past life to his disciple Vyasadeva. And yesterday, we discussed how Narad Muni mentioned to his disciple Vyasadeva that he was constantly chanting the holy names of the Lord in his past life, and he ignored all kinds of material formalities. He was constantly chanting and remembering the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, and in this way, he was moving about all over the world, fully satisfied, with humility, being non envious towards anybody. In this way, he was traveling everywhere, and because he was chanting the glories of the Lord, anybody who heard him sing the glories of the Lord, they also were imbued with Krishna consciousness. And this happened for quite a long period of time. And over a period of time, Narada became fully absorbed in thinking about Krishna, and he became free from all kinds of attachments, all kinds of material contamination. And at a particular point in his life, he met death. And we discussed this yesterday, saying that the death of a devotee of the Lord who has attained perfection in Krishna consciousness is actually a gateway for his entry into the Vaikuntha, into the spiritual world, to become one of the eternal associates of the Lord. So, death is nothing to be feared by a pure devotee of the Lord because he knows that he is straight away going back to Godhead at the end of his material existence. So, this we had discussed yesterday. And today, in the verse that we read just now, Narad Muni is continuing to discuss what happened to him after he met his death. So, we must understand that death is only for the material body, not for the spirit soul, because the spirit soul is eternal, as Lord Krishna explains in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. When this sharira, this body, is hanyamanaha, when it is subjected to death, that time the soul is not subjected to death. Na hanyate, it is not subjected to death. It does not cease to exist. It is eternal. So, what happens after death depends on the consciousness of the individual soul. If the person has not developed Krishna consciousness, he will move to another body in the material world for another term of imprisonment within this material world under the influence of the three gunas. And this body might be human body or it could be any other animal species, depending on one's desires and one's mentality and his karma. If one has actually attained perfection of Krishna consciousness, one gives up both the subtle and the gross bodies, and straight away the soul goes to the spiritual world. And there the soul develops its original transcendental body with which he can serve the Lord. So here Narad Muni is saying, Prayujyamane Mai Tam. Prayujyamanaha means having been awarded. uh, Mai on me, Tam that Shuddham Bhagavatim Tanum. Tanu means body. Bhagavatim means uh, the body which is fit for associating with Bhagavan. Right now we have a Bhautika Tanu, a body made up of material elements. But if we have to qualify to go to the spiritual world and live there in the association of the Lord and serve Him, then we need to have a spiritual body. And that is called Bhagavatim Tanum, a body which is very similar to Bhagavan. Bhagavan, Krishna, has got eternal body which is characterized by three qualities. His body is called Satchidananda Vigraha. Vigraha means form. Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Sat means eternal, Chit is full of knowledge, Ananda means blissful. So, this form of the Lord is eternal, full of knowledge, and blissful. And if one wants to associate with that form of the Lord in the spiritual world, then one must also gain that particular form, a form very similar to the Lord. So that is described here as Shuddham Bhagavatim Tanum. Shuddham means transcendental, free from the influence of the three modes of material nature. Mind you, the body which we have right now, it is not Shuddham, it is not pure, because it is contaminated by the influence of the three gunas. And with this body, we cannot actually go back to the spiritual world. It is not suitable to go there. So, if we have to actually go to the spiritual world, we have to first of all give up this bhautika tanu, the material body, and then we must develop Bhagavatim Shuddham Tanum, pure transcendental body, which is fit for associating with the Supreme Lord. Now, this is exactly what happened with Narada in his past life after his death. Arabdha karma nirvanaha. Nirvana means prohibitive. Karma means fruitive work. Arabdha means acquired. Nyapatat panchabhautikaha. Panchabhautikaha means the body made up of five material elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. That is our current body. That's a material body. Nyapatat means it fell or he gave up. So he gave up his Panchabhautika Tanu, and which is actually uh, acquired uh, because of one's arabdha, acquired because of one's karma. Because of one's karma, we acquire this material body made up of five elements. So Narad Muni is saying, I gave up this material body made up of five elements, which is acquired because of fruitive activities, and I gained Shuddham Bhagavatim Tanum, a body quite befitting an associate of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world, and in this way I went back to Godhead. This is what Narad Muni is saying. So, Prabhupada explains in the purport that uh, the transcendental body is free from material affinity, and it is invested with three primary transcendental qualities: Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Hmm? So, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter. He says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. He says, O Arjuna, if you understand the transcendental nature of my appearance and my activities in this material world, then you need not have to come back to this miserable material world, but you will come back to me. And Srila Prabhupada explains that this could happen by a devotee going to that particular universe within this material world where Krishna is performing his leelas. In that way, the devotee gets an opportunity to personally serve the Lord in the material world. And when the Lord winds up his leelas in that particular universe and goes back to the spiritual world, at that time, along with the Lord, the devotee who has attained perfection will also go back to the spiritual world along with him. So, that means the devotee, simply by rendering service to the Lord, purifies his existence, purifies his false ego, purifies his lording over tendency. All these are contaminations which prohibit us from associating with the Lord in the spiritual world. So, when we engage in devotional service, all these contaminations go away, and slowly our material affinities, our material affections will all vanish, and we will develop our spiritual consciousness. So, first the consciousness has to develop, and then the material consciousness will go away. Then, at the end of one's life, if one has attained that Krishna consciousness perfectly, then one gives up both the gross and subtle bodies and goes back to the spiritual world, and there he is awarded the transcendental body with which to associate with the Lord. That means it is an inside out process. First, the consciousness has to change. Right now, our consciousness is material. Material means we are seeking enjoyment for ourselves independent of the Lord. Now, bhakti is nothing but a training. What training it is? It is training of the free will. How to utilize our free will such that we always choose what is favorable for Krishna's service. So you can call bhakti as a choice gym. When you go to the gym and you want to build your muscles, the gym instructor or the trainer will begin with weight lifting. He will ask you to lift some weights. Now, initially, he will give you lesser amount of weight, maybe 2 kgs, 5 kgs, like that. You start lifting, practice lifting smaller weights. And gradually, as your muscle becomes stronger and stronger, then he will increase the intensity, increase the weight. He will make it 10 kgs, 15 kgs, 20, 25, and so on. Now, it is a gradual process. When you make smaller, when you actually are able to lift smaller weights and you get used to it, then you will also become, your body, your muscles become prepared to lift bigger weights. So, in this way, you will increase your muscle capacity, you will increase your muscle strength. Now, in bhakti, also the same thing happens. In bhakti, we start with smaller austerities, smaller or simpler practices. Just like, for example, we start with chanting 1 round a day. And when we keep chanting 1 round every day sincerely, nicely, and we keep taking guidance from the devotees, then the devotees will say, why don't you start chanting 2 rounds? Why don't you start chanting 4 rounds? And along with chanting, there are other things also. Why don't you start observing Ekadashi Vrata? Why don't you start rendering some service for the Lord in your free time? Why don't you start reading every day 20 minutes Srila Prabhupada books? So, in this way, slowly a diligent trainer in bhakti will introduce uh, various aspects of Krishna consciousness to the practitioner. And in this way, slowly the practitioner of bhakti trains his free will to add or to think about Krishna more and more during his uh, time of the day, during the 24 hours of the day. Initially, before bhakti, all 24 hours we are filled with material activities, material consciousness. But as we come in touch with devotees, slowly, little by little, our spiritual activities begin. Correct, correct. Therefore, association of devotees is the key factor. That is where your bhakti gym or bhakti choice gym begins. So, free will is a very, very important uh, aspect of our existence because free will, Krishna does not touch it because it is something very, very personal to each and every individual soul. Krishna respects our free will. Krishna respects our choices that we make using our free will. So, when we voluntarily agree to follow the instructions of the spiritual master, it means we are ready to use our free will uh, to serve Krishna little by little. So when we start chanting Hare Krishna mantra, when we start reading Srila Prabhupada books, when we start associating with devotees, rendering services little by little, we are indicating to Krishna, who is seated in our heart, who is waiting for us to turn our face towards him from many, many lifetimes. He's waiting there in our heart. We are indicating to him that, yes, now I am ready. Slowly I am coming towards you, O Krishna. Please accept me. I have understood that I cannot enjoy independent of you. Now I have got the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. By his mercy and by his training and instructions, slowly I am becoming more and more Krishna conscious day by day. So this is the choice gym, right? Gym, like I gave the example of weightlifting slowly. So in bhakti, we start with smaller steps, smaller uh, choices, and gradually we keep increasing our activities becoming more and more Krishna conscious, right? And a point of time, at some point of time, a sincere sadhaka decides, now I want to dedicate fully for the service of the Lord. I want to fully serve the Lord. I want to fully engage in service of the Lord in whatever way possible. So this conviction has to come about in a devotee, and that's the progressive, that's the quality, or that's the indication that a devotee is progressive and he's sincere and serious. So at every step, just like in the gym, you need the intervention of the trainer, you need the instructions of the trainer. You cannot independently try to do whatever you want. In the same way, in this bhakti activity, also in the progress, we need timely instructions, timely guidance that has to come about. And this is very important. Eh, the sadhaka has to voluntarily approach the devotees who are training him and seek guidance in all spheres of life. That's a very, very important quality. That's how we mold our free will to become, so that we become conducive to live in Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, all living entities who are living there in Vaikuntha, they desire everything for keeping the Lord's enjoyment in mind. Their desires are in line with the Lord's plan. That is the perfect way of using one's free will. Now you may say, oh, that means it is then there is no free will then in Vaikuntha. No, 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 it is not like that. Free will is very much there. Free will is there, but they all the Vaikuntha Vasis, they use their free will to serve the Lord the way He wants. The Lord, it doesn't mean that as soon as you go to Vaikuntha, you lose your free will and you become a puppet, having no independence or having no freedom. No. Bhakti means using our free will every moment to serve the Lord the way He wants. That is called bhakti. Prabhupada gives one example. See, it is not difficult for Krishna to force everybody to surrender to Him or to render service to Him. It's not at all difficult because the Lord can do anything. Nothing is impossible for Him. But if He forces upon us His service, that is not called love. That is not called bhakti. That is, so Prabhupada gives an example. Suppose a boy loves a girl, and the boy goes to the girl and says, he keeps a gun. At the gun point, he says, tell me I love you, otherwise I will kill you. Now, if the boy says like this, now the girl, out of fear of losing her life, she will say, okay, I love you. But is that real love? No, that love is coming, her words are coming because of fear of losing her life. That is not real love. Real love has to be voluntary. Real love has to be out of one's own choice. It cannot be enforced. That is why this free will is such a fundamental aspect in bhakti. In bhakti, every moment the devotee uses his free will to serve Krishna, to love Krishna, to surrender to Krishna, to do only that which gives pleasure to Krishna. Now, this is the training that the spiritual master gives to the disciples while in the material world. And when one has attained perfection in utilizing his free will perfectly the way the Lord wants, then one becomes free from all material contaminations. One becomes eligible to enter the spiritual world and lead an eternal life full of knowledge and bliss in the association of the Lord. So that's the whole bhakti training, right? So Ambarish Maharaj has shown this. When we read ninth canto of Bhagavatam, we see Savai Mana Krishna Padaravindayo Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvarnane. And goes on. So it says, first Ambarish Maharaj fixed his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. Then Ambarish Maharaj used his power of speech only to describe the glories of the Lord and to chant his holy names. He used his hands only to clean the temple of the Lord. He used his legs only to walk towards the holy places connected with the Lord. He uses his tongue only to taste the tulasi leaves and the prasadam offered to the Lord. He uses his power of smelling to only smell the fragrant flowers and tulasi offered to the Lord. In this way, and also it is mentioned, he used his desiring ability only to desire what is favorable for the service of the Lord. Like this, every sense of his, every faculty in his mind body system, he perfectly engaged in fulfilling his duties towards Krishna, right? Fulfilling what Krishna wants. That is why Krishna is called Rishikesha. Krishna is the master of our senses. We falsely think that this is my body, these are my senses, I will use this body and senses as per my desire. That leads to bondage. But the first thing that the spiritual master tells the disciple is, you are not the body, and your body belongs to Krishna. So, therefore, you have to use your body and senses in the service of Krishna, including your mind. It all belongs to Krishna. He is Rishikesha. You are not the Isha of your senses. Krishna is the Isha, controller. He is the master. So, using all our senses in this way, slowly our original Krishna consciousness will be awakened. So, Krishna consciousness is already there in the soul. It is not something to be artificially acquired. It has to simply be awakened. Because of long duration of association with Maya, the three modes of material nature, we have forgotten our original Krishna consciousness. Now, what the spiritual master does is he gives us practical activities to engage in, which will help us revive our original Krishna consciousness. And in this way, he prepares us to take back to God, to take us back to Godhead. I remember in our school, college days, engineering days, we used to have placement training. You must also have experienced placement training in your, uh, mostly in professional courses, they do some. So they do a mock interview, mock group discussion, how to face an interviewer, and how to dress yourself, how to you know answer the questions. In case of the questions asked by the interviewer is tough and you don't know the answer, how to properly answer that you don't know the answer. That is also one skill. So all such trainings they used to give, right? So that there is maximum possibility that more and more students get placed in different companies. Now, the spiritual master, he also trains us. He is the placement officer for Vaikuntha. The spiritual master is the placement officer. So, what he does is he first gathers all the souls who are interested to go back to the spiritual world. He attracts the people, creates interest in them that we should go to the spiritual world. And then the spiritual master gives instructions and he conducts training for the such interested students, and he trains them perfectly well. The only thing that the student is required to have the qualification is one must sincerely follow the spiritual master's instructions. Then 100% placement guaranteed. That is the point. 100% will be placed in the spiritual world if we simply cooperate with the spiritual master. That's all. Spiritual master is not an ordinary person. He is directly coming from the spiritual world. He is a resident of the spiritual world. He has been sent by the Lord to this material world to recruit more and more souls who are suffering in this material world because of forgetting Krishna. Krishna mercifully sends his confidential devotees to the material world and he tells, please recruit some people and more people and bring them to Vaikuntha. So the spiritual master comes here with a mission. And if we cooperate with the mission of the spiritual master, then 100% we will go back to the spiritual world. That is the whole point. That is the training process in the spiritual, in the Krishna consciousness movement. So Narad Muni, he 100% cooperated with his with the spiritual masters, that is the Bhakti Vedantas, and he followed exactly according to their instructions. And because of this, he got a realization that he is not the body. He became free from all kinds of material affection and material contaminations by the practice of Bhakti Yoga. And because of this, he was able to see the Lord within the heart. And he also eventually gave up his material body and went back to the spiritual world. So he got a spiritual body there, a transcendental body there. So we cannot perceive the Lord through our material body. We cannot actually go back to the spiritual world with our current material body. Therefore, we have to uh, revive our original transcendental body, and for that, the process is Bhakti Yoga. Now, a very important point Prabhupada mentions here, a devotee's body becomes at once surcharged with the transcendental qualities as soon as he is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. It acts like the magnetic influence of a touchstone upon iron. The influence of transcendental devotional service is like that. Therefore, change of the body means stoppage of the reaction of the three qualitative modes of material nature upon the pure devotee. You know, if you have studied about magnetism, there are ways to uh, create a magnet, and one of the ways is called, induction. So when you bring a, uh, when you pass current through a iron rod, then there is something called electromagnetic induction which happens. So as long as the current is flowing through the conductor, which is wound around the iron rod starts behaving like a magnet. It acquires magnetic properties. So, in the same way, when as long as we cooperate with the instructions of the spiritual master and follow them diligently, uh, we we become surcharged with spiritual consciousness, which makes us eligible to go back to the spiritual world. So that is the point that Prabhupada is making here. A uh, magnetic influence of a touchstone upon iron. So there are many other ways of converting iron into magnet, and you know, induction is one of them, and there are other ways also. So by the whole point is, if we simply uh, cooperate with the spiritual master, follow his instructions, practice devotional service. That practice surcharges us with spiritual qualities which are required to go to the spiritual world. So that's the point. And what happens? How do we know whether we are getting qualified day after day? Are we getting qualified to go back to the spiritual world or not? How do we know? There is a litmus test for that. Srila Prabhupada said, you yourself can check yourself whether you are becoming spiritually advanced or not. No one has to come and give you a certificate. You can do a self check, reality check. What is that? Day by day, am I becoming am I becoming more Krishna conscious? Um, how do I know that? The more we become Krishna conscious, proportionately our material desires for sense gratification comes down. You can check for yourself. Are you becoming distasteful towards material pleasures, material enjoyment, right? By practicing Krishna consciousness, are you becoming uh, gradually disinterested in material pleasures, sense pleasures? To what degree you have become distasteful towards sense pleasures, you should know that to that degree you are becoming Krishna conscious. Prabhupada said this. And Prabhupada said, one of the greatest desires that everyone has in the material world, among all kinds of material sense gratificatory desires, the central among such desires is the attraction towards the opposite sex. to what extent we are becoming uh, controlled, or we are becoming free from this attraction towards the opposite gender. That is also an indication. Uh, of course, we have to engage in devotional service. By engaging in devotional service, we develop a higher taste, because of which the lower taste will fade away. That is the whole philosophy, the whole point. So, to what degree we sincerely apply ourselves to the instructions given by the spiritual master, to that degree, the influence of the three modes of material nature stops upon us. And to that degree, we become liberated. And slowly, if you continue to stick to a routine sadhana program throughout our life, a day will come when we become fully free from the influence of the three gunas. We become fully Krishna conscious, and that's called the stage of Jivan Mukta, being liberated even within this material body. That's the position of a pure devotee. So, Prabhupada says when one comes to that stage, one will be able to see the Lord face to face, even in this body. Just like Dhruva Maharaj was able to see the Lord, even with his own material body. Prahlad Maharaj was able to see the Lord within his own material body. Not only see, he was able to serve the Lord as well in that material body. That means the body changes from material to transcendental. The body changes from material to transcendental. That is the power of Bhakti Yoga. That is the power of Bhakti Yoga, right? So, a devotee becomes free from, a devotee transcends the law of karma simply by rendering devotional service to the Lord under the guidance of a pure devotee, spiritual master. That is the point here. And that's how Narad Muni was able to achieve the transcendental body. He became liberated. And with that body, he was able to personally see the Lord, serve the Lord, and participate in the Lord's pastimes. Srila Prabhupada also said, so the perfection of our life is to become a part of the dancing party of Radha Krishna in the spiritual world. That is the perfection of our life. So, in our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, there are three deities, each for the three stages of bhakti. The first stage is called as Sambandha. The second stage is called as uh, Sambandha. First is Sambandha, second is Abhidheya, and the third is Prayojana. Sambandha means understanding our relationship with the Lord. Second stage is Abhidheya, performing devotional service to realize our relationship with the Lord and to become purified. And the third stage is called Prayojana. Prayojana means the ultimate perfection of one's life. So, ultimate perfection of one's life is to go back to the spiritual world and become an eternal associate of the Lord there. So, Sambandha Adideva is Radha Madan Mohan. We first pray to Radha Madan Mohan to bless us with the knowledge pertaining to ourselves, the knowledge pertaining to our relationship with Krishna. That is called Sambandha Jnana, and for this we need the blessings of Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan. Then, when we are fixed up in that knowledge, we start practicing the Bhakti Yoga process. We start applying ourselves practically, uh, training ourselves according to the guidance of the spiritual master, training our free will to become, to be in sync with the Lord's desire. That is the bhakti activity that is called Abhidheya. And for this, Abhidheya Adideva is Sri Sri Radha Govinda. So we pray to Radha Govinda to render service, to become fixed up in service of the Lord. And when we attain perfection in our service, as per the instructions of the spiritual master, then we come to Radha Gopinatha, Sri Sri Radha Gopinatha. He is called as Prayojana Adideva because Gopinatha means the master of the gopis. He is the one who actually uh, attracted the gopis by playing on his flute on the banks of Yamuna in Vamshivata. And the gopis, because they were already pure, They got attracted to this transcendental spiritual vibration coming from the flute of Krishna. And Krishna accepted them in their company, made them his associates, and danced with them to give them pleasure. So, in the same way, when it when the sadhaka attains perfection, one by the grace of Gopinath, one becomes admitted into the personal association of the Lord. This is called prayojana, or the ultimate goal. So we should know that we have three stages. We need to depend on these three deities. These are the three principal deities in Vrindavan, revealed by our acharyas. Radha Madan Mohan was worshipped by uh, Sanatana Goswami. So Sanatana Goswami is called as Sambandha Acharya because he revealed Madan Mohan deities. He worshipped them. And Gopinath was worshipped, sorry, Radha Govinda was worshipped by Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami is called Rasacharya. He's also called Abhidheya Acharya. That's why he has composed, he has written Upadeshamrita, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which reveal the details and intricacies of the process of rendering devotional service to the Lord. One should definitely study these two books, Nectar of Instruction first, and then Nectar of Devotion. Both are explained by Srila Prabhupada in English, and these are very useful instructions given by Rupa Goswami based on authorized scriptures. If one studies these two books, one becomes conversant with how to perform bhakti, how to engage our senses in our day to day life in service of the Lord. Then Srila Madhupandit Goswami, he worshipped Radha Gopinath, the Prayojana Adideva. So, like this, these acharyas have revealed to us the three stages of perfection in Krishna consciousness. Let's go to the next text, text 29. Kalpanta idam adaya shayane ambhasyudan bataha shishayo shishayishor anupranan vivishentar aham vibhoho. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Narad Muni continued. At the end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead Lord Narayana lay down within the water of devastation, Brahma began to enter into him along with all creative elements, and I also entered through his breathing. Purport. Narada is known as the son of Brahma, as Lord Krishna is known as the son of Vasudeva. The personality of Godhead and his liberated devotees, like Narada, appear in the material world by the same process. As it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, the birth and activities of the Lord are all transcendental. Therefore, according to authorized opinion, the birth of Narada as the son of Brahma is also a transcendental pastime. His appearance and disappearance are practically on the same level as that of the Lord. The Lord and his devotees are therefore simultaneously one and different as spiritual entities. They belong to the same category of transcendence. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. So, what happened after that? He says, the previous shloka we saw, he attained the transcendental form, but then that means he was within the material world only. He had not yet entered the spiritual world. He was within the material world, but he had attained the transcendental body. That means he had become a Jivan Mukta. He had become completely spiritual, even while living in this material world. Therefore, Kalpanta, at the end of Brahma's day, Kalpanta, idam, this, adaya, taking together, Shayane, having gone to lie down, Ambhasi, in the causal water. When Mahavishnu lied down on the causal water uh, at the end of Brahma's day, then what happened? Udanvataha, Udanvataha means devastation. So there was a pralaya which happens at the end of Brahma's day. Uh, Shishayishoho, so the Lord lay down on that causal water, lying of the personality of Godhead Narayana. Anupranam, breathing, Vivishe, Antaha Aham Vibhoho. So I entered into the body of Lord Narayana Along with Vibhu, along with my father, Lord Brahma, I entered, along with Lord Brahma, I entered the body of Narayana. So this is what happens at the end of Brahma's day. At the end of Brahma's day, all the jivas who have not yet attained perfection in devotional service, they enter into the body of Mahavishnu. That is at the end of Brahma's life. So at the end of Brahma's life, all the living entities lie within the body of Mahavishnu and they wait for the next cycle of creation to start. So, but this is at the end of Brahma's day. Brahma, along with all the jivas, entered into Narayana's body along with his breathing, right? So this Narad Muni is able to remember because he had attained a transcendental body. Generally, a living entity will not remember all these things. Oh, I entered into Narayana's body at the end of Brahma's day. All this we cannot remember. But the very fact that Narad Muni is able to remember about his past life, all these things, it shows that he had already attained transcendental realization. He had attained liberation. So Rupa Goswami says, Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasa gira nikhilasu api avasthasu jivan muktasa uchyate. A person, a devotee, even while living in this material world, if he engages all his senses completely in the service of the Lord, such a person is called a Jivan Mukta. He is a liberated soul even while living in this material world with a material body. So, the Krishna consciousness process, as revealed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as given to us by Srila Prabhupada, it is meant to actually make us Jivan Mukta. It is meant to actually make us liberated, even while living in this material world. So, uh, we have to simply go on engaging in devotional service of the Lord. That will make us liberated. That's the point. And another point that Prabhupada is making here is just like we understand from Bhagavad Gita that Krishna's appearance and activities in this material world are all divyam, transcendental. The same applies to the pure devotees of the Lord as well. The Lord's devotees also come to this material world not because they are driven by the laws of karma. They come here because of the transcendental desire of the Lord. So therefore, their appearance is also transcendental pastime. That is why we celebrate the appearance and disappearance of the pure devotees, the acharyas. They are also transcendental. Practically, they are on the same level as that of the Lord. That is the point. Okay, let's see what happened after that. Text 30. Sahasrayuga paryante utthayedam sishrukshataha marichi mishra rushayaha pranebhyom chajagnire. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. After 4,300,000,000 solar years, when Brahma awoke to create again by the will of the Lord, all the rishis like Marichi, Angira, Atri, and so on were created from the transcendental body of the Lord, and I also appeared along with them. Purport. The duration of a day in the life of Brahma is 4,320,000,000 solar years. This is stated also in the Bhagavad Gita. So for this period, Brahmaji rests in Yoga Nidra within the body of the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the generator of Brahma. Thus, after the sleeping period of Brahma, when there is again creation by the will of the Lord through the agency of Brahma, all the great rishis again appear from different parts of the transcendental body, and Narada also appears. This means that Narada appears in the same transcendental body, just as a man awakes from sleep in the same body. Sri Narada is eternally free to move in all parts of the body, in all parts of the transcendental and material creations of the Almighty. He appears and disappears in his own transcendental body, which is without distinction of body and soul, unlike conditioned souls. Thus ends the unlike conditioned beings. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. So what happened? He was within the body of Lord Narayana. So Sahasra Yuga Paryanta. For how long? For 1000 Mahayugas. That is the duration of Brahma's night, isn't it? Brahma's day is 24 hours, 12 hours of day, and 12 hours of night. So 12 hours of day is called one kalpa. 12 hours of his night is also called another kalpa. For one kalpa, Brahma is awake and he does the creation process. For the next kalpa, which is his night, he takes rest, he sleeps. And at that time, Amshika Pralaya happens. Amshika Pralaya means partial annihilation happens within the universe. And that is when here Narad Muni is saying, I, along with Lord Brahma, entered into the body of Narayana. So, for that duration, 1000 Mahayugas or one Kalpa, one night of Brahma, which is about 4 billion 300,000, 300 million, 4 billion 300 million solar years, Brahma will be sleeping within the body of Narayana. That duration, Narad Muni was within the body of Narayana along with Lord Brahma. And after that, Uthayedam Sisrikshataha. Uthaya means to wake up. Having expired after that period of time, 1000 uh, Mahayugas, at the end of that, Uthaya Idam Susrikshataha, desired to create. So when Brahma awoke and he wanted to create again by the will of the Lord, at that time, Marichi Mishraha, rishis like Marichi and others, Rishayaha, all the rishis, Pranebhyaha, out of his own senses, out of the different body parts of Brahma, all these rishis were born. Aham cha jagnire, I also took birth in that way. So from the body of Lord Brahma, different personalities took birth. Marichi, Angira, Atri, and the seven Saptarishis. They all appeared from within the body of the Lord Brahma by the will of Lord Narayana. So at that time, Narad Muni also appeared. So Narad Muni appeared from within the mind of Brahma. Therefore, Narad Muni is called Manasaputra of Lord Brahma. So Brahma was not born through a biological process that through which every conditioned soul in this material world takes birth. That means Narad Muni's birth itself is transcendental. It appeared from within the mind. He appeared from within the mind of Brahma. So that's why in the previous purport, Prabhupada said, just like Krishna's appearance in this material world is transcendental, his pure devotees like Narad Muni, their appearance and their activities in the material world also should be understood to be transcendental, non-material, right? So one point that Prabhupada mentions here is Narad Muni appeared in the same transcendental body. That means in the previous lifetime, Narad Muni had attained perfection, isn't it? We have discussed that. He became Jivan Mukta and he entered into the body of Narayana along with Brahma. In the next Kalpa, when Brahma created, he merely came back in his original transcendental body, which he had acquired in his previous lifetime. So that is the point. That means it's not a material process of taking birth at all. Narad Muni had already attained liberation at the end of his previous life. Okay, that is the process. So, what is the proof that Narad Muni is a liberated soul? Now, that's very nicely mentioned here by Prabhupada. See, recently we went to Ahobilam trip. Some of you might have joined us. We went to have darshan of 9 Narasimha cave temples in Ahobilam in Andhra Pradesh. So the journey was about 8 hours from Bangalore. And again, there, after reaching Ahobilam, we had to walk through the forest, ups and downs, trekking, and all of that. Then we had to go to different temples in that way. So I was just thinking, I was just reflecting during the travel time that see, because we have a material body, we cannot uh, go to any place whenever we want. Our material body imposes a limitation on us. Since I have a material body, I have to follow the laws of material world, right? I cannot be simultaneously present in two places. Oh, I'll be present in Bangalore also and do service, and I'll be in Ahobilam also. Not possible. You will either be here or there. And also, the body cannot move whenever it wants. The body has to go through the process of getting transported from one place to another place. This is the symptom of conditioned life. We are all conditioned by this body. And walking is so tiresome. We become tired, we become dehydrated. These are all the limitations imposed upon us by our material bodies. This is what happens in our conditional state of life. But look at Narad Muni. See, Narad Muni, Prabhupada writes, Sri Narada is eternally free to move in all parts of the transcendental and material creations of the Almighty. He appears and disappears in his own transcendental body, which is without distinction of body and soul, unlike conditioned beings. Whenever he wants, he can appear anywhere within the material or the spiritual world, and he is called the transcendental spaceman. He can travel from one planet to another planet within the universe. He can even go to the spiritual world. So that is the symptom of a liberated soul. A liberated soul is truly free. There are no material laws governing his body because his body is not material. Material laws can only govern and condition material body. But the spiritual body of Narad Muni is not subjected to the laws of material nature at all. Just like when the same Narad Muni, when he came to Dwaraka 5000 years ago to witness the household pastimes of Krishna, Narad Muni entered each and every of the 16,108 palaces of Krishna, and he found that in each of those palaces, Krishna was present simultaneously, and he was engaging in one or the other activity, in a unique activity in each of those palaces. So, this means that Krishna's body is not material. If Krishna's body was material, it was impossible for him to expand himself into so many forms and live simultaneously in each of the palaces along with his queens and to perform unique activities. Narad Muni saw that in some palace, Krishna was actually doing charity to the Brahmanas. In some other palace, Krishna was actually conducting the marriage ceremony of his daughters. In some other palace, Krishna was actually training his sons, teaching them. In some other palace, Krishna was performing some yajna. So, like this, simultaneously, Krishna was able to display these unlimited pastimes, unlimited activities, because he has a spiritual form. He's all pervading. So, spiritual forms have no material limitations, isn't it? So, uh, Narad Muni had attained this transcendental form. He has this transcendental form. At his will, he can go anywhere, he can appear anywhere, and he can disappear anywhere. No material laws apply to him at all. Right? That is the greatness. That is the meaning of liberated soul. So Narad Muni in that way is truly a liberated soul. And today is Garuda Panchami, the appearance day of Garuda Deva, one of the eternal associates of the Supreme Lord, who is the personal carrier of the Supreme Lord. And we see Garuda Deva, even though he was born in slavery, he chose to become a servant of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Narayana. So he said, so far I was engaging in the service of my stepmother, but that was only giving me pain and humiliation. That is only bondage. But now I want to engage in your service. Oh Lord, please accept me as your carrier, as your vehicle. and the Lord immediately accepted. So, service to the Lord is uh, completely spiritual. Service to the Lord begins after liberation from material contaminations. That is what we understand from Garuda Deva. Garuda Deva was rendering service, because of some, terms, some of the agreements between his mother and his stepmother. He was born into slavery, right? He was born as a slave of his stepmother. So he actually engaged as a slave of his stepmother and stepbrothers. But then, when he understood that this material service is simply leading to bondage, and when he got an opportunity to render service to Lord Vishnu, he immediately chose to render service to him. This is what Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita. Um, Brahmabhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samas sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Only after one comes to the spiritual platform, free from all hankerings, free from all lamentation, when one sees everybody as an individual soul under the influence of the three gunas, then one understands that rendering service to the Lord is the only auspicious activity. So Garuda Deva, he freed himself and his mother from slavery towards his stepmother, but after that he chose to render service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. So the lesson we should learn from Garuda Deva is we should give up material service and take up spiritual service to the Lord. That is real freedom. Otherwise, you may be serving somebody for an entire lifetime. You may be serving your relatives, your friends, your boss, or your mind, your senses. The persons whom you are serving will not come and tell you that I am fully satisfied with your service. Now, enough, I'm fully satisfied. Nor will you get the experience that you are fully satisfied by serving your so called friends, relatives, and all of those people, because that's on the material platform. Material service is always a give and take policy. You scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. That's not going to make you satisfied. That's not going to make you happy. If you want to become really happy and satisfied, we have to follow in the footsteps of Garuda Deva. Give up material slavery to our mind, to our senses, to our so-called friends, relatives, and all of that. Take up service to the spiritual master and to Krishna. That is our constitutional position. When we come back, when we return to that constitutional position, we can be truly happy and satisfied, and that satisfies the Lord as well. So therefore, on this day of Garuda Panchami, let us vow to become more serious in our service to Prabhupada, service to Krishna, and the more we engage in service to Krishna, proportionately our material service, our engagement in Maya activities will proportionately come down, and slowly we will come to the point of Jivan Mukta, where we can become liberated even while living in this material world. So that is the lesson for us, message of Garuda Panchami to all of us. So let us pray to Garuda Deva to inspire us in rendering service to the Lord, and let us end the slavery to Maya and engage in the service to the Lord. With this, we'll close. Any questions or any comments anyone has, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I had one
Hare Krishna,
question.
Ratna. Yes.
Yeah, so that time you said that we should gradually increase our sadhana, like chanting, starting with 1 round, then 2 rounds, then 4 rounds, or like this Ekadashi, like this slowly we should increase. Now,
Yeah.
I heard in one place, one devotee was telling Prabhupada never means did this tactic. He directly said, no, you have to chant 16 rounds. You have to give up this what's that? Sinful activities.
Sinful
So
activities.
directly Prabhupada said. He didn't go gradual. Is it true, Prabhu?
Now, the point is, uh, Prabhupada has given many instructions, and Prabhupada has definitely said that among all the instructions that I have given, the most important is chanting 16 rounds and following the four regulator principles. Prabhupada said this is the most important of all the instructions that I have given. So Prabhupada has stressed this again and again every time. You will see in every purport, you will see in room conversations, you will see everywhere Prabhupada saying chant 16 rounds. Yes, if somebody can actually take up Krishna consciousness in this way, immediately take up chanting 16 rounds and follow four regulative principles. Yes, that's the best thing. But, and Prabhupada also has said this, there's no doubt about it. But then, is everybody ready that way? Isn't it? It's not possible. Uh, Even when Prabhupada was present, there were Westerners, especially the hippies, who started coming to Prabhupada in New York City, 26 Second Avenue. Slowly, only they took up. Slowly they came and they would just attend class, and they may not even have started chanting initially. They just came for the feast which Prabhupada would cook. They would enjoy prasadam. And slowly, slowly they started participating in kirtan. Slowly, by the influence of Prabhupada's association, they took up chanting. So it's a gradual process. It's not that from day one somebody started 16 rounds or follow the four regulator principles. It's not like that. And of course, there are devotees who have done that also. Even now, we see some people from day one they start chanting 16 rounds. That's because they have a past lives Krishna conscious history which inspires them or influences them to take up. But having said that, it's not wrong to say to someone that please start chanting one round, please start two rounds, and slowly start increasing. There's nothing wrong. It's not against what Srila Prabhupada said, right? So we have to encourage people. So suppose you tell somebody start chanting 16 rounds from day one. Um, Compared to that, if you say at least chant one round, just take 8 minutes and chant one round, there is a higher probability that one will at least attempt to chant one round every day. And slowly we can keep inspiring and trying to help that person to increase and come to the point of chanting minimum 16 rounds. Is that okay?
Okay, yes, Prabhu, got it. Means it is more practical if you start with one round and slowly go up.
Yeah.
Means in
And
general, it's more
also,
practical.
somebody will say, maybe someone, let's say, see, everybody whom we preach to may not actually come to the point of chanting 16 rounds. Okay. Somebody may say, uh, throughout my life, I will chant only four rounds. Now, what will you do to such a person? Will you force? No, 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 you have to chant 16 rounds. No, there's no point of force in devotional service, isn't it? And in fact, if you try to force, that person may stop coming and may stop chanting even those four rounds, which is actually a loss, isn't it? So, you try to inspire. Preaching is not forcing. When you preach to somebody, it's not forcing, or it's not about creating fear. You see, in the Western countries, I forgot the name. There are some Christian preachers who adopt this mood, who adopt this kind of a strategy. They say, if you don't embrace Christ, you will go to hell and suffer. That means they try to create a fear in the heart of the person, and they try to preach. This kind of preaching in the long run will not help. So, therefore, it has to be gradual inspiration and based on how much that jiva, that person can actually take up. Of course, we should tell that Prabhupada expects us to chant minimum 16 rounds to be in a good standing in spiritual life. That is reality. That we have to tell what is the standard expected. We can tell that, but we have to leave it up to the free will of the individual person, individual sadhaka, and patiently preach. That is what I would say. So there's one
Okay,
question
Prabhu, got
someone
it.
has posted. Yeah, there's one question that is posted. Uh,
Ramakrishna.
yes, Ramakrishna. Garuda Dev is eternally in Vaikuntha. He appeared in material body to show others to be a servant of Vishnu. Is that correct? Yes, that is how it is. All of the eternal associates of the Lord, they're all eternally serving the Lord in the spiritual world. And they also come to the material world on the order of Krishna to set standards for everybody to follow. So Garuda Deva is also one such example. So eternally he is present in the spiritual world as a eternally liberated soul, as a servant of the Lord. And here in the material world, he has performed these leelas. His appearance as the son of Vinata and Kashyapa, and he being born into slavery towards his stepmother, and then he going to Indra, curbing his pride, snatching the Amrita Kalasha from him, freeing his mother from slavery. All of these are all his pastimes in the material world. Now, having said that, there is no difference between Garuda Deva's activities in the spiritual world and those in the material world. Just like Krishna's activities in the material world are also divyam, transcendental, Garuda Deva's activities in the material world are also transcendental because he is a liberated soul. Whatever he does in relationship with Krishna. Therefore, it is all spiritual. Therefore, we remember and recollect, meditate on these pastimes so that we become purified. Hope that answers your question. Is there
Yes,
any
Prabhu.
other Hare Krishna? Is there any other question or comment? Okay, every day until Janmashtami, 9:15 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. we have Krishna book reading. Please do join. It'll be nice if you can also join if you're free. 9:15 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. we will be having Krishna book reading. Same link. This will be conducted by the students of Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Please do conduct. Please do join. There's one last question I will take. Manoranjan has posted this question. Without taking Harinam initiation, can someone chant the Maha Mantra at home? Yes, definitely you can chant. So the scriptures say that we have to receive the mantra from a bona fide spiritual master who comes in an authentic sampradaya. And all the devotees who are coming in touch with ISKCON movement, whether they are initiated or not, they are receiving the mantra from Srila Prabhupada, who is a bona fide acharya in the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya. Therefore, one can chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra because we are getting the mantra from Srila Prabhupada, from his organization, from his institution, which is not different from him. Srila Prabhupada said, ISKCON is my body. So therefore, when you come to ISKCON temple, which is the body of Srila Prabhupada, and when you hear from a devotee chant Hare Krishna, you should know that it is Srila Prabhupada's instruction that is coming to you through his representatives, through his disciples. Therefore, you can chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra even without taking Harinam initiation because you're receiving from bona fide spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. So thank you for joining. We will meet again in the next session. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.